Hello and welcome to Ability Extra. In the next 12 weeks we'll be looking at a variety of activities and equipment that might be of interest to you. On this week's show we'll be visiting the headquarters of Special Effects, who make gaming accessible to disabled users. Our producer Wills will be showing off his gaming skills too. Have you ever considered learning to fly? If yes, then our piece on aero ability is for you. Or how about sailing, where you can learn to sail on a tranquil lake with sail ability. And finally, saving the best till last, we'll be testing the Tramper to its limits in the New Forest with the indestructible twins and off-road antics.
You can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true.
Now, on to the first item of the show. Many people like to play games to escape their day-to-day lives, but for some, they can't use a standard controller due to disability, physical mobility, or medical condition. However, it all changes with Special Effects, a company that adapts a range of controllers for disabled users. Let's join our producer Wills and Mark from Special Effects to tell us more.
So what we do is we use off-the-shelf switches and assistive technology and products which are already available, and we mix them, we match them, we modify them to enable people with all kinds of disabilities to have a custom setup to play. Every single person we see is a project of one, and it has to be. You can't, for example, produce a controller that will work for everybody with cerebral palsy, and the same goes for pretty much every condition. Now, if you take a typical games controller, now that's created for somebody who's got the ability to use their thumbs and be able to reach around the back, and be able to hold on to it, for a long time because of its weight. All the people we see have challenges and issues doing that. What we'll do is we'll get small switches and we'll put them underneath the fingers, by the sides of the knees, and we'll wire them up to act as a controller. A lot of the time we take out springs out of joysticks for the main controllers and replace them with lighter ones so that they're much easier to move. And we'll position those where it's best, for example underneath the chin, or maybe on the back of a wrist like that. And sometimes that might mean mixing and matching different things like voice control along with switches. Where you can control a number of things with your eyes. We've helped somebody, for example, to play Minecraft with a combination of eye control and voice control and switches, and recently released some software that allows you to play Minecraft just using your eyes. Although video games might be seen as a luxury for many people, actually for many people growing up now, it is their life. That's just the way it is. We went to see a lad who lived on a farm. He was, like I was talking earlier, late stage muscular dystrophy. He was on a ventilator, very little movement, and he loved playing Call of Duty, but he hadn't been able to play for years and years and years. His life was just watching whatever somebody put on TV for him. That was it. He had no control. By the end of the day, he was playing Call of Duty again with his mum, and the therapists tell me that at the end of the day they packed up all their kit and they said, okay, Alan, it's time to go now. We'll call us again if you need any changes. Nothing, just absolute, and that's what we want. That's what we want.
So how do your customers normally find you?
It's generally word of mouth. We ask people to get in touch via our website, via the contact form on there, if they'd like some help from us, because then they'll be able to tell us a bit more about what their abilities and wishes are that we do. We hold a massive, every February we do something called Game Blast, which is basically a Children in Need for gamers, where we ask people over the course of a weekend to do, say, 24-hour gaming marathon, and it's brilliant. That raised £225,000 for us.
Okay, well, good luck with that, and thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much.
The freedom of flying could be yours with aero ability. We spoke to Mike Miller-Smith, who is the founder of this charity.
I think disabled people don't often get the chance to do amazing things. Aviation hasn't always been accessible to disabled people, so we give everybody the chance to fly. So whatever the impairment, perhaps a physical disability or a sensory impairment or a learning disability, we'll get people up in the air. developed a hoist. They can lift somebody out of their wheelchair and into the pilot seat, literally, which is great. But what we've done, we've worked hard to put adaptations into the aircraft, so people with perhaps like a low limb disability could use a hand control rather than using their legs to operate the rudder.
It's not just a charity, but it's almost like a club. So all of us, it's so hard to get your licence that you all get to know each other extremely well. And I've been flying with the same people for 4 years. The same people I started with have got through, you know, at least 50% of them have got through their licence, and even with very severe disabilities.
So, how can people who are interested get in touch with Airability and get involved?
So these days it's obviously much easier through social media or through our website aerobility.com. Obviously there's our contact details there, so just ping through a message, give us a call, or send us a social media message, and we'll get you booked in to fly, or at least to find out more if you'd like to.
Have you considered the peaceful activity of sailing on a tranquil lake with the peaceful sound of the water lapping against the bow of a boat?
Describe a brief history of sailability.
Yes, sailability has been going a long time. We've been operating here for about 20 years. It's under the umbrella of the RYA, Sailability, where the patron is Princess Anne, and there's over 200 centres around the country, so it's really quite a big organisation, but we're each independent, so we are our own charity here at New Forest.
What do you think disabled people get out of sailing?
It varies quite a bit what people get out of it, because we cater for a very wide range of disabilities. So everything from very disabled people, both mentally and physically disabled, who are getting a sensory experience. They go out on the water, they feel the wind, the waves, they hear the water birds, even if they're not actively sailing, to the other extreme of people who are sailing independently on their own, maybe racing. We run a race training program, who are able to do the entire sailing themselves, and everything in between those two.
How has the removal of disabled sailing from the Olympics affected sailing?
Well, we haven't. Well, firstly, there's a big campaign to seek to get it back in, and it should be coming back in. And in fact, the class of boats that we use mostly here, the Hansa 303s, has been selected as the possible boat, and they're designed for disabled sailors. But in terms of its effect, I mean, the Olympics and Paralympics do have a big impact on all sports, such as cycling. You know, you can't go anywhere in this country without seeing cyclists, and that is partly driven by the success of elite cycling.
How can people who are interested in sailing with Sailability get in touch?
A good website, which has all the contact details, lots of information. And we also have for volunteers, some of the community sites would show that we have volunteering opportunities. Hansa organisation would also have contact details. So people should be able to find our contact details quite easily. They may well ring me or one of the other committee members, or they can just turn up here. And what we would tend to encourage people to do once we've made contact with them is come down and have a try, have a free taster session.
Now on to today's first gadget. The Tramper is a utility buggy that can be used off-road by those who struggle to access the countryside independently. They are made locally in the New Forest, as well as in Salisbury, Wiltshire. We caught up with David Westbrook, who is a Tramper representative. We began by asking him how the Tramper idea was first conceived. Our product testers, the indestructible twins, Andy May and Pete Moutre, were given the challenge of trying them out. Let's see how they got on and whether the Tramper survived.
Oh, many years ago, in fact 20 years ago, there were a group of people that wanted to get out into the countryside. Founder of the company was doing hand controls for vehicles at the time, and they said to him, well, this is very well, we can drive out into the countryside now and look out the window. We want to get out and join everybody else. The Tramper is specifically designed to be off-road. It's not for going around your local town and so on, but it's got proper suspension, pneumatic tyres and plenty of torque, so it can go over tree roots and up and down hills. It can do a 25% slope on the four-wheeler or a 20% slope on the three-wheeler. We've had a Tramper taken to the top of Snowdon. We did use some ropes and so on at places just to make the person on it feel a bit safer, but it actually did it all under its own power. The three-wheel is a much more active ride. You have to be able to ride with the bumps a little bit more, and you have to watch where you're going a bit more because you've got 3 tracks that you're trying to follow rather than just 2. What I say to people is that the four-wheel, if you leave your brain at home, it will normally look after you. If you take the three-wheeler out and leave your brain at home, you could be picking yourself up off the floor. A four-wheeler will cost you about 6,500, the three-wheeler about 5,500. That obviously depends on the spec and what you put on it and any of the extras that you buy.
How did the Tramper survive that? So Andy, how did you find the Tramper? And more importantly, how did it fare?
Fared pretty well, to be fair. Considering my weight, it was good. It was strong, getting over up and down sort of hills and bumps and things like that.
Right, Pete, how did you find the handling of the Tramper? And more importantly, would you say it was a good buy?
The three-wheel one was good. It was comfy, nice bit of suspension. I think you ought to have had the three-wheel one rather than me, but there we are. Nice comfy ride. It was good on the road.
Yeah, it was good on the road.
So, next week's challenge for the indestructible twins will be trying out indoor skydiving. It's just a small matter of finding some fans big enough. That's all for this week, but there is this to come in next week's show. Next time I'll be looking at water wheels and Wessex Care Sportability. Bye for now.
You can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe